Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hi there, it is me, Known Wells, your friendly feely ghost/host. I am here today by myself. It's a solo episode. I'll get into the details of that in a moment, but I wanted to share this. You clicked on this episode, you downloaded this episode because maybe the title was stirring to you, maybe it brought up some feelings in you, in your heart, some hard feelings, some anxious feelings, some anger maybe, some uncertainty. Just know that I am coming from a place of deep empathy, compassion, and love and care. I love you. I love that you're here. I love that you're listening to this episode. We can do this together, okay? You're not alone. So, solo episodes. I'm going to be trying to do these once a month or so. This is the first. And it's a way for me to explore deeper topics, maybe to explore personal topics to me, and even to talk about something that's going on in the world. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about vaccinations. We're talking about the pandemic. You're probably tired of talking about this stuff or hearing about it. I am too, to be clear. But I also feel deep in my heart and my bones that vaccinations are an act of empathy. Allow me to repeat that. Vaccinations are an act of empathy. And also allow me to explain. I believe that it is our responsibility as humans living on this pale blue dot to protect the most vulnerable among us, to protect and to take care of those who are born into this world with a lack of privilege, a lack of access, bodies that aren't able, immunocompromised individuals, people who are vulnerable, feely humans who are vulnerable to the world, to getting sick, to getting spat upon and excluded, and etc. I believe it is our job to protect these people, to lift them up, to champion them, to cherish them, to understand that we are playing a game. I am a white, cisgendered, able-bodied man. I am born into this world with immense privilege. I have immense privilege. I have access to healthcare. I have access to getting vaccination. That's an immense privilege, and I want to talk about some of the nuance of that in a bit. But to go back to my first and main point, it is our job to protect the most vulnerable among us, using our strengths to support the weaker or the weak, or those who have weakness, right? Not as a negative thing, but just have inherent physical or immunity weakness. I'm not here to talk about, science is better than religion. This is not what this conversation is. That's not an argument that I feel is even valid or makes sense to me. I trust science, and what I mean by that is I trust in the process of curiosity and critical thinking and expansiveness, and that's the process of healing. Science is the process of healing. It's the same approach. So when I look at, the data that's out there about vaccinations and masking, it's very, very clear, factual, can't deny fact, that getting vaccinated and wearing a mask help prevent sickness, help prevent severe illness, help prevent death. That has been borne out, that has been shown to be true, right? And I also want to say this. So when I talk about, I'm a vaccinated person, and I believe that getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is a good thing, but I wasn't always a vaccination person. Like, I want to be very clear and get vulnerable here. And I think that has to do with my privilege. I think the last time I got a flu vaccination was maybe 20 years ago. And I wonder, I think that is privilege. I think that is, yes, I had access. Maybe there were times in my life where I didn't have health insurance, but I have health insurance now, right? I could get it, and I should, and I will get a flu vaccine. I think where that comes from is me thinking stupidly, me thinking about myself, that I am able. I am physically healthy. I should be fine, right? And maybe some of that is true. But looking back on that thought process, that younger self, that younger person in me, I look back empathetically with kindness and love. I also understand that there was some selfishness there. There was some sort of insular thinking that wasn't taking into context the bigger picture here. Taking into context that our actions impact others, whether we are aware of it or not, right? Actions have consequences. And consequences, we need to take responsibility for them, right? So me choosing not to get a flu vaccination, maybe I impacted someone along the way and gave them the flu. That's terrible. I don't want that. So as I think about COVID-19, which is something that is killing people, so I follow this wonderful Instagram account. It's also a podcast, first a podcast. It's called the Unbiased Science Podcast, and it's led by, let me get their names right, an immunologist, Dr. Andrea Love, and a public health scientist, Dr. Jess Steyer. They're wonderful. They do tremendous research and work and just sort of present the data, right? And help to alleviate, I think, a lot of anxiety and debunk a lot of sort of misinformation that's going around in the world regarding COVID-19 and the vaccination and masks and all that stuff. They're wonderful. I highly recommend you follow them on Instagram. It's Unbiased Sci Pod. Unbiased SCIPOD. They're wonderful. Highly recommend them. But I bring that up because what is mind-blowing to me is that people are dying. Our hospitals are full. Our hospitals are just running over with people who are unvaccinated and they're dying. COVID-19 is leaving children without parents. COVID-19 is infecting young people, young quote healthy people, right? It's scary. I know that there is, I want to be clear that there's a ton of nuance here. Like anything worth exploring, there's always nuance, and it's in the nuance is where we need to be curious. We need to be soft, and we need to look, and we need to listen. And when it comes to empathy, empathy is about listening. So I want to listen to those who are hesitant because I empathize with that. I surely do. I certainly empathize with the hesitancy. What am I putting in my body, right? So I certainly had a little bit of that anxiety when I first got the vaccination. I did my research, I looked at it, and you know, I made the decision, the informed decision, that it was the right decision, that it's you know, it's less about me and more about all of us, right? But I know there's hesitancy. I know there's anxiety, right? I know that there are people out there, Fox News, you know, this guy Dan Stock just spewing misinformation, right? And it's hard to know what to trust sometimes. It's why I like to go and do my research, right? You know, really try to understand the data, look at the facts. Again, you can't deny facts. Facts are facts. And again, the scientific process is about curiosity. It's about proving themselves wrong, right? There's no ego in science. There's no our way is better than your way. There's no this or that in science. It's all curiosity and exploration and testing and testing and testing. I trust that process. So when I think about this idea that vaccination is an act of empathy, let's break that down. So when I think about empathy is about, you know, maybe putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, feeling the feelings of others, right? Empathy is about listening. Empathy is about showing up wholly, unburdened by our own bias and our own baggage, and sort of coming into a situation and leaving it all out there. Listening and hearing and being willing to meet someone where they are at. And I want to do that for everyone all day, every day. And so for you listening, if you haven't been vaccinated and maybe there's some anxiety there, I just want to meet you where you're at and say, I understand. I would love to hear you. I would love to listen. I would love to hear your concerns and talk about it. If I can help you and allow you to see that maybe it's less about you and it's more about all of us, maybe I can. And maybe I'm already bringing my own bias, and that's what's hard for me, right? Like that's the hard thing about empathy, right? Is like it's hard. Empathy is hard. It's a skill. It's a practice. And so sort of the anxious and the hesitant is one sort of contingent, and then of course there are a contingent of humans living among us who are voraciously anti-vaccine, voraciously anti-mask. And to those people, my empathy is failing. To those people, I'm having trouble understanding. Because to me, from what I've observed, vaccination, masking, it's become this political act. It's become this versus that. It's become this binary, I'm on my side, you're on my side, and fuck you, right? And when something such as public health has become politicized in that way. Very dangerous. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the repercussions of it. We're seeing our hospitals. We're seeing people dying. We're seeing this spike again, right? It's scary to me. And it's so disheartening and brings me so much sadness. As a feely sensitive person, I'm immeasurably sad every day thinking about this stuff because it feels like there is a very small thing that we can do by getting vaccinated, by wearing a mask in sort of indoors, a little bit of prevention, and we can prevent hospitalization. We can prevent like severe illness, right? Again, the vaccines have never been 100% effective. That's not what they do, but it prevents severe illness, it prevents hospitalization. It can prevent death, right? And I think about those who are so voraciously anti, and I'm projecting, and this is not empathy, and this is me sort of my own bias and my own frustration and my own anger. I think like, what fucking assholes? Do they not care about anyone but themselves? Perhaps that's judgmental, and perhaps, again, I'm just going to get a flood of 1-star reviews on this podcast. And I get it. I understand that you're angry, but I would love to first listen and let's have a conversation, because I don't understand. Unvaccinated adults are driving cases of COVID-19 in children. Children are getting severely sick and dying. I'm not trying to be inflammatory. I'm speaking the facts. I'm reading the facts on what I'm seeing. Just look at, the countless people online, nurses and doctors and ICU folks. They have no agenda. They're working 14, 16-hour days, devastated. First-hand witness to this tragedy that's unfolding. So much of it can be prevented by getting vaccinated. Our actions have consequences. They make an impact. We aren't living in a bubble. We aren't living in a vacuum. We aren't, as much as capitalism and our systems tell us, we aren't these individualist beacons of fuck you and freedom and strength. That's not what we are. We are living in a rich tapestry of human complexity and nuance where every action we take has a consequence. Every choice we make has a consequence. And I hope this podcast has shown and proven to you over time, hearing people talk about their mental health and trauma, that we are not alone. That's not what we are. We are connected. We are together. That is what the world is. And to think otherwise is, frankly, just misguided. Our actions have consequences. We don't live in a vacuum. I think about my own journey, my mental health journey, and my depression and my anorexia battle and my history with self-harm and suicidal ideation. And I think, man, could I have done that alone? I would be dead if not for the care of others in my life, the care of people seeing me and meeting me where I'm at and challenging me when I need that. We grow in connection with others, I say endlessly on this show. We don't do it alone. Doing it alone is an isolated, narrow, ego-led journey of suffering. I'm not taking away your individual rights. I'm not taking away your freedoms. I'm talking about how humanity is connected and how our actions have consequences. Look, at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about us. It's about all of us. It's about protecting the most vulnerable. You may feel healthy, you may be strong. I feel healthy, I feel strong, right? It's not about you. It's about others. I want to live in a world where we think more about others. I want to live in the world where when we make choices, we think about how it impacts beyond us, beyond our own space, beyond our own singular vision, the planet, each other, the less fortunate, the most vulnerable. That's the world I want. I hope that's the world I'm trying to create with Feely Human and this podcast, is a world where we can shed this idea that we're here to conquer and crush and be beacons of strength and to just sort of fucking insist our will upon everyone because it is right. Let's throw that away. Let's shed that mindset and come into the world with an open heart and an open mind and listen and learn and shed and unlearn and know that we're always learning and know that we're always shedding and know that we're not here single conquerors sort of trying to force our will upon the world and shape the earth for our own individual use. It's not about us, or it's not about us individually. It's about all of us collectively. And it's not political. Maybe it is political. Passion is political intrinsically, so maybe it is. But it's not this versus that. Remember, it's about nuance, it's about context, it's about curiosity, which is what science is about, right? Vaccinations are an act of empathy because they're about all of us. So I want to challenge you, if you're someone who has been hesitant to get vaccinated, you have anxiety about it, I'd love to have a conversation. I'd love to talk to you. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm a feely human, a silly boy who cares deeply about this, who truly believes that getting vaccinated is an act of empathy. If you want to talk, you can email me, youmeempathy@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram @youmeempathy. And if you're someone who is aligned with me and believes that vaccination is an act of empathy, talk to your people. If we can, as I say all the time on this show, change one heart at a time, that's our power, that's our capacity. How are you making an impact? How are you changing minds, changing hearts, showing up for people with empathy, listening, learning, shedding, unlearning, all that stuff, again and again and again. And I feel vulnerable about this episode. I feel vulnerable even saying all this stuff because who am I? Who am I? You may be asking yourself the same. Who are you? And we are feely humans, and we care deeply, and we have big hearts, and each of us have the capacity, and we're stronger together. We're stronger in community, right? So go out there, lead with your heart, lead with your empathy, and let's make a difference. Let's remember that our actions have consequences, and I guess that's all I want to say. Maybe that was helpful. Maybe not. I don't know. But if you have thoughts, please reach out. If you have concerns, please reach out. And please give Unbiased SciPod a follow on Instagram. Start listening to their podcast. They are wonderful, doing amazing work. And remember, it's on all of us to be informed and to do our own research and to do our own work in this. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, concerns, reach out. If you or angry and you also have anxiety, reach out. Happy to have a conversation. I'm here to listen. And remember, we're protecting the most vulnerable. That's our job. That's our responsibility. We're not in a vacuum. We're here together. Okay, I've said that a million times. I feel like a broken record. I love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Please leave ratings and reviews in Apple Podcasts. Helps out the show. I prefer 5 stars, but be honest, be authentic. I value that. And bonus episodes at patreon.com/feelyhuman. And support me and the work I do at feelyhuman.co. Tomorrow, actually, there's a workshop, a grief and writing workshop. You can sign up for that. There's still spots. You can sign up for that at feelyhuman.co/workshops. And give me a follow on Instagram at YouMeEmpathy, at feelyhuman. I also wanted to shout out the I've Been Better podcast. It's a new podcast hosted by Susan Youngstedt. I've Been Better turns on the mic for others to share their stories with the world. The podcast is inspired by podcasts such as Terrible Thanks for Asking, and this podcast, and social media accounts such as Humans of New York, along with Susan's career as a therapist. She says, I wanted to start a podcast where people who have touched my life in some way can share their story with others, especially times when they would have loved to honestly answer, how are you, with, I've been better. I've Been Better is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and there are 3 seasons out. Season 4 will be dropping after Labor Day in September of this year. So give I've Been Better a subscribe and follow. And thanks to Susan for sharing that. If you also want to share your thing on this podcast, happy to shout it out. Just DM me on Instagram at YouMeEmpathy or leave an email, youmeempathy@gmail.com. And I guess that's it. Okay. I love you. Be well. Lead with your heart. Lead with your empathy. Okay, bye.